All right. As you all know, Jason at the Angry Prepper and the Angry Truth, Alaska Prepper, Pinball, TJ Preps, and a bunch of others have got things going to help the people in Texas, right? Because unfortunately, in our opinion, my opinion at least, their state and the government kind of let them down a little bit. Although, a little bit of knowledge would have went a long way to help them, okay? So that being said, go check out their videos, check out the things they have set up. If you can give, give. If you can't, you can still give. Let those people in Texas know whenever you get a chance, they're not alone. You're thinking about them, and you care, and you're sending your love and prayers their way, right? Because that's important too, and that is sometimes most important, right? But what I'm going to try to do is give them a little bit of knowledge. Give them some things that would have helped them to help themselves and keep from being in the situations they were with the busted pipes and the flooding houses and caught without food and things like that, right? So there's some things you want to do right off the bat. Right off the bat, if you know that a storm like that's coming that has even a possibility of Arctic temperatures, or they use the words Arctic cold front or vortex or whatever, and it sounds scary, plan on it being the worst it can be. Because when it's not, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than caught off guard, if you know what I mean. So what you want to do is the first thing is the most important thing. You're going to need water, and you're going to assume that you're going to lose water and maybe power. So the first thing, assume you're going to lose power because it's a storm that has potential of very negative temperatures, right? Okay, what you need to do is you need to, one, before it gets that cold, round up all the water you can. Go to the store if they still have some, get yourself some water. If they don't, fill up every container you can find. All right, fill up milk jugs and old creamer jugs and whatever. Get yourself some water jugs, right? Fill up whatever you can. Heck, you also want to get yourself some 5-gallon buckets. Get a couple of them. At each toilet, fill up 2 of them at least. Put them next to the toilet, right? You can fill up your tub, right? Even though you know it might get freezing, a tub with a little bit of like sugar or salt and things like that in it will keep it from freezing, right? And you're going to be using it too. So it's going to be keeping it moving. So that's a plus, right? So after you've got all those things set up, the next thing you want to do is you want to know, here we go, where your water meter is, right? Because that's really important. Your water meter either looks like a square one like this that's in a concrete box with probably a concrete lid that has a metal flapper on it, right? So just pull that whole thing up and that's what you'll see inside. Or it could be a round one, right? Same thing, round with a steel lid. But it's usually on one side of your property towards the street or the other towards the street. But find it, right? Inside there, you will have a shutoff valve like this, right? It's a little T-handle. This is the house side. That's the street side. Now, the street side has a shutoff too, but that's the one they use to lock you out when you don't pay your bill. So, if that thing is sideways across the valve like that, and it's got a lock in it, you didn't pay your bill. If it does, leave that alone for right now. That's their responsibility. You're worried about you and your house. So go on the house side, and it'll have a T-lever like this. Turn it so that it's crossways across that. That's off. If it's lined up like this, that's on, okay? You don't want it on. Turn it off. You've already got all your water gathered up. You got enough there for at least a week or two, right? And then leave the street one alone, okay? Now, you could have a meter like this. This would be the electronic meter versus the standard meter. The standard has the old dial style letters and has an arm that goes around like this as water's going. That's the major water one. Then it's got a little triangle, right? That little triangle is a sensitive one. If you even have a leak in your house, here's a tip. Have your water on, turn everything in the house off, and if this little triangle is bobbing and weaving like this, and then over 15 minutes this arm goes a distance, you got a leak that you need to find and deal with, okay? If it doesn't, and it just bobs a little and doesn't do anything, doesn't spin, right? Or the arm stays put, then you're fine. So then turn off your water, like I said. And if it's a digital one, same way, but it might not have a handle. It might need a wrench. It might just have a piece of metal right there that you have to grab onto and turn, like on the city side. So you want to turn that one so it's across the pipe, not level with the pipe, right? Not in line, I should say. That one right there, and you'll know if you have an electronic one because they have a little wire that hooks up to your lid so that they can just drive by and go bleep and know what you used as far as water. But it'll have a sensitivity triangle too. But that's what the digital one looks like. So know where your box is, your water meter cutoff, right? And go shut it off. That's the first thing. Now, next thing you want to do is you want to go in your house, right? And you want to turn on all your faucets. Shower, sinks, tubs, toilets, whatever. Turn them all on. Everything that has a faucet, turn it on. A little bit will drain out, but because your water's off, that'll stop. Okay? Then what you want to do is you want to go outside of your house. See, this is a house with siding and door and window, and this is your foundation if you have an underfloor. But even if you don't, outside your house, wherever your hose bibs are, unhook the hoses, leave them off, turn on all the hose bibs, and let all the water drain out of your house. Now, what will happen is, since all the faucets are open upstairs, that will allow air to get in the system, and it'll all come pouring out at the lowest point. Now, that'll get probably 80%, maybe 90% of your water out of your lines, right? And make sure you take your faucets and put them on the hot side for a while, and then the cold side for a while to make sure you drain both sides of the lines, right? Now, the other thing you want to do, because there'll always be some in there, then what you do is you go out and you get yourself some RV, right? Antifreeze. Now, they make gray water antifreeze, and they make black water antifreeze. Now, the black water antifreeze you can pour in your toilet here, pour it in your tub drains, pour it in your sink drains, or you can pour the gray water in your sink drains. In your shower drain, pour the black water. In your toilets, pour some. Now, pour it in the bowl and in the tank and flush it once just to get it in the P-trap. Because every sink, toilet, shower, everything has a P-trap that keeps water trapped in there so that odors from the sewer system don't get up into your house and stink up your house. But that's also trapped water that could freeze and break the porcelain of the toilet. That happens all the time. It could break the lines under the house. So if you got a little bit of antifreeze in there, that's not going to happen. And it's safe antifreeze, right? So go ahead and use that, right? Don't use it in your drinking water, though. But that will keep other things from breaking, right? Now, the next thing you can do to take the edge off, if you have an underfloor, not if you have a slab house, but if you've got an underfloor, it'll have vents in the foundation like this. Go put some foam board in there and pack it, put it in there and block the airflow off. That will keep it it'll allow you to take the edge off by putting some lights that are in work cages, right, underneath there. Or even a little bathroom heater that's just blowing under the house to take the edge off. But don't leave those in full time. You're talking 1-2 weeks tops, right? Do not leave them in there all winter because it could rot your underfloor, right? This is just to take the edge off during a bad situation, okay? So the next thing we're going to address is the fact that most of those tragedies you saw is because they allowed water lines to be run into the attic. There's no heat in an attic during that time of year. It's not like anybody puts heat up there. Now, you could put a light up there or a couple lights up there if you still have power, or a little tiny heater to take the edge off in the attic to keep that from happening. But you want to locate those lines. If they're not insulated, you want to put the thickest black insulation you can on it. Or you can use heat tapes if you still have power. Or you can use reptile tank heaters. They make this really long one that's a skinny, long electrical cord that just gets heated up enough to keep things from freezing. And it's cheap and it's long. So you can just tape that to the pipe and that'll keep the pipe warm. Then put the insulation over that. And then, honestly, if you don't have power, I'd put the black insulation on and then throw like a blanket over it. Like one of the kinds you get at Harbor Freight or something, right? Because you don't want that pipe to break. And if it has a cutoff valve and a drain, you should drain that right then. If not, when you get through this looking good, you want to have a plumber come and put a cutoff valve and a drain into that thing for the future. Because if it happened to you once, it could happen to you again, right? Same thing goes for the house. Sometimes you don't want to go out to the street to turn it off. So, and because every second counts when you have water shooting out in your house. Now, have them install one that's either right outside your door or right where it goes through your foundation to feed your house, or get under the house and have a cutoff valve installed somewhere in the house that you can get at, right? That would be a good idea. But we're going to talk about for right now what else you should do. Okay, so that being said, we'll go over some other things. We already gathered up some water. We already filled up all of our containers. We filled up our tub or our water bobs, which is a liner for a tub, right? Let's see. We've, yep, we did that. Yep, you got, you know where your water meter box is. Now, once you've done this and you've drained your system, you want to go ahead to your water meter box and pack in a bunch of old towels or insulation and whatnot into that water meter box and put the lid back on just to keep that valve from breaking, okay? That's an important thing to do too, all right? The other thing you want to do is wrap your hose bibs. Leave them on, leave the hoses off, because you're going to lose power, water and probably power, right? So go ahead and just leave it open because you've got your water stored up, but go ahead and wrap them up just in case there's any water trapped in that line and that cold won't transfer back into that metal pipe and freeze things inside, right? So be sure to do that too. Then what you want to do is you want to look at your water tank. Now, there's a valuable source of water. Your water tank, meaning your hot water heater, is usually wrapped with insulation of its own. But if it's getting to be dangerously cold and the power goes out so you can't keep your house warm, well, that ups the ante. You might want to take a blanket or two and wrap it around that water heater. And when in doubt, you could drain it because it has a hose bib down at the bottom, but that should cover it for something like that. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to, insulated water box, yep, got that. Okay, here's another thing. Never turn off your heat system, right? Now, of course, in a storm situation like that, you're going like, Rib, I'm not going to turn off my heat system. What are you, crazy? No, I'm not crazy. I'm just saying a lot of people in a non-SHTF situation or emergency go out of town and turn off their heat systems, leave them off, or turn them way low, and not on heat, whatever, because they're going on vacation or something like that. And I cannot tell you how many times, and it's more than what I can count on 2 hands and my feet, right, where I've come back because they've turned off their heat system completely and a bad storm happened or a snap cold freeze like that, and they've come home to a house that their entire ceiling and all their insulation is all over their stuff and everything's destroyed. Okay, it happens all the time. Don't do that. Okay, do not turn off your heat system. Turn it down maybe 55 degrees, maybe 60 degrees, right, but no lower than that, and let it be there to take the edge off the house. Okay, it's not good for a house either to go through temperature extremes. One day it could be 80 degrees and the next day it'd be 50 degrees. That's not good for the house. You want to keep it at a level point, okay? That'll help you there. Now, other things you need to make sure. Once you've done this, now you can rest assured that you're pretty good as far as being able to not have broken pipes. You got the water you need. Now you got to make sure you have enough long-term food storage. As we saw in Texas, things degraded real quick. Within 3 days, they had food outside the stores rotting, all the perishable foods. The stores had been picked clean. There was no water to be found eventually. All of that, okay? You need to be out there having one person go out and get some things, or you should already have it on hand. Have at least a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks, but really more than likely 30 days to 6 months worth of food. In fact, if you don't know, your state and government are probably already recommending 6 months. So Be sure to have some long-term food storage. Be sure to have some long-term water storage. Be sure to have some water purification devices like filters and pills and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because now that you're not going to have your house destroyed, now you're going to be able to live through it, right? So have that stuff on hand. Make sure you get all your fuel cans filled up. If you have a generator, make sure it's full. If you have a solar generator, make sure it's set up and running, right? Because you're going to need the power, right? Be sure your propane tanks are filled up, right? Make sure to have all these things ready for a situation like that that'll help you get through it. If you'd have had a generator, you could have run a small heater and kept pipes from bursting too, okay? All kinds of things like that. You got to have ways to cook, so you got to have your butane stoves, right? Your stove tops, your cooktops. You can still cook indoors with them and use them inside. Just be careful not to leave them running for too long. If you're worried about it, go outside. Be sure your carbon monoxide detectors, first, that you have them, and then second, that you have batteries fresh in them, right? Do not run heaters inside your house that aren't safe, okay, to be burning inside. Even if it says it is, like a lot of the catalytic heaters and things like that, I still leave a window cracked a little bit. You got to have some fresh air, right? So just be careful. Other ways to conserve heat is take an area in your house, like your living room and your kitchen, say, and tape off everything else. And everybody come and stay in one room so that your body heat keeps that one room heated. Go ahead and have candles lit, but be sure they're in safe places. And some of my other past videos to show you how to make heat, go check those out, okay? Because that'll show you makeshift ways to create light and heat. But set up an area inside the center section of your house, right? Have the other entryways in your house taped off with plastic. Put some plastic over the windows too to give another insulating barrier. That dead space in there will help keep the cold from transferring from the window panes, right? So these are things that you want to do to help you get through these situations, okay? Some of the lanterns that you should have on hand, like the ones that I did in the video, the oil lanterns, the propane lanterns, all those put off heat. Keep that heat trapped in an area. Put a tent in your living room. All those things you've heard are all great ideas. But my main purpose in this was to keep people from having their houses literally destroyed because they weren't ready. And that being said, the one most important thing, if a pipe does break because you're not ready, or it just breaks because there was some water trapped in there, first off, if you've already turned off your water and you're ready to live with the water you've stored, well, heck, you're not going to have your house pressured and spraying everywhere in the first place, right? But don't, when the water pipe breaks, sit there and panic and film it. That doesn't make any sense. There's nothing we need to see, okay? We don't need to see it. Nobody needs to see it. What you need to do is hustle your little bum out to that water meter box and turn off that water. In fact, you should have already done it, because that's what I'm trying to tell you. Is if you know it's only going to be short term, you can just do that, right? Right, okay, I'm watching out for you. Now, other thing, when you turn that water back on, okay, you want to turn it on slowly, leave all the faucets open, but make sure your drains aren't stopped up, right? Have people positioned at all those areas to look for problems. Turn that water on. Maybe even have a walkie-talkie, one of them little family ones like you should have, right? And have somebody talking on the inside and somebody on the outside. And as they turn that pressure back on, you're going to hear spitting and sputtering on all the water and air coming back out of those lines. It's going to be coming back out your hose bibs and all that kind of stuff. Now, as it's doing that, let the hose bib ones go, right? For a little bit. Let all the air spit and sputter. Now, when that spitting and sputtering stops, go ahead and start shutting off your hose bibs. Now, not the guy at the meter, somebody else. Shutting off the hose bibs and watching that meter. Now, it's going to be spinning, right? And then start shutting down the inside ones. Starting downstairs first, okay? Then go upstairs if you have a 2-story and start shutting those off. Now, once you have everything shut off and it gains pressure back into the lines in the house, you should see that meter stop spinning. And the little tiny triangle, you know, the one we were showing you right there, that little tiny triangle should stop moving. If it doesn't stop moving, or the arm's still moving, and you know you got everything shut off, you got a broken pipe. Shut things back down again. Or if somebody hoot and hollers from in the house that something's spraying out from somewhere it shouldn't, shut the valve off. But that's a smart way to do it, because not much water will get out and damage things if you think ahead a little. Don't panic, right? Be smart, right? Don't panic, right? Got it. All right. Easy to be said, harder to do. But if you think about it and have a plan, well, it is easier, okay? So, next, we went over all the generators and things like that and all the other things you should have. Plastic over the openings, got all that. Yep, Tent, sleeping bags, right? Electric heaters, right? All that kind of stuff. Went over all those other things. Lanterns, power. Looks like we got her covered. That should get you through most of the dangers that are coming in a situation like that. But the most important part is draining that house, because then you'll have a house left when it's all said and done. If so many people would have done that, and then the other tips to be ready, a lot less damage would have happened and people would have been much, much better off. So, that being said, a couple other little tips. Get studded tires and chains so that when you're out, you can drive safely, right? Because it never fails. Situations like that, people don't know how to drive in those kind of roads. They get panicked, they're out there, and now people are dying because they're running into stuff or sliding into stuff, right? You got to be smarter than that. You got to take time, okay? Then, also, get studs for your feet. Now, what I mean by that is there's some things out there called yak tracks, and there's other generic brands. Go to your Costco. They sell them, right? They'll have them in there during certain times of the year. They're like a little rubber thing that stretches over your shoe. It hooks on your toe and hooks on your heel, and it has like cleats on it, right? That will keep you, as we've seen so many people slip, fall, hit their hip, break a femur, whatever, break an arm. That's the last thing you want in a situation like that, is to be in the hospital with a broken arm and then having to deal with it while you're out and about. So yak tracks, or whatever brand you want to get, Costco, whatever, that's something that every vehicle should have, because I can't tell you how many times I've been going out in the snow and I've been so thankful that I've been able to put those on and not slip and kill myself when I get out the car. So there's another one. Also, non-salt De-Icer, right? Here's the thing. They used to just throw salt over the concrete, right? But that can cause your concrete surface to pop, especially if it gets cold enough. So use some of the synthetic non-salt type De-Icers, right? Have a bag of it on hand. Put it in a galvanized bucket or something in the bag, right? So that you have it and the moisture staying away from it. And you can use it on your walkways, because injuries are the last thing you want to happen going through this situation. Let's see here. You can run the faucets to drip, drip, drip if it's not too cold. But that storm was too cold for that one. Okay? Right? You can add more cutoff valves, right? After we've already experienced all this. Learn where you've got your weaknesses. Your pipes in the attic. Uninsulated pipes under the house. Getting a shut-off valve closer to the front of the house, right? Right. Also, burn barrels. If you have a ability and you have property or whatnot like that, set up a couple burn barrels around the house. Keep them lit up with fire. That will have a zone of warmer air around your house, okay? That, just like smudging out in a field like they do with pears or any kind of fruit that has frost warnings and stuff like that, because you're not going to run a sprinkler on your house. You're not going to do it that way, but you could run burn barrels around your house in order to keep things warmer. And they don't have to be big ones, just little burn barrels. It's something to take the edge off around the house. And then let's see, we've got, I did that. Well, that's it. Those are my tips. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Put your comments down in the comment section. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to tickle that little bell. And if you're from Texas, I'm thinking and praying about you. My heart goes out to you guys. I hope this helps you for the next time. I hope there's no next time. But if it happens, you will be ready. Like I said, always be safe. Always be secure. That's what we're talking about here. Be aware of your surroundings, meaning knowing when the storm's coming. And be prepared for anything that comes your way. Action, not panic. Action. Okay? I love all of you guys. Don't forget, just in case you want to take a screenshot, look at that. Boom. Screenshot. Now with a cute face. Screenshot. All right. I love all of you guys. Adios.